Good morning. Happy Monday. Today we're learning Perek Gimel of Maaseros. Maaseros. We have it's a total of 5 parakim, so we'll be finished with Maaseros on Wednesday. Then we're going to do Maaseros moving along. Today's shiur is sponsored by Nishmas Aaron Nachman ben Simcha Kohen, Yeshua Mordechai ben Shepsel, Baruch Hasar B'Shmalei, and Abinam ben Yosef. May the Shemas all have an aliyah. Perek Gimel, we're continuing from yesterday, about a courtyard setting and the obligation for Maaser that comes into it. Because you cannot, because once the produce comes into the courtyard, then you cannot eat it anymore even as a snack without separating Maaser from it. So Mishnah starts off, Hamavir te'enim bechatzero lixos. If someone carries figs through his courtyard on his way to dry them, meaning, to dry them out. They put them out into the sun in order to dry the figs. Banav ubnei beso ochlin upeturim. His children and the other members of his household may eat them as a snack and are putter from separating Maaser from them before they eat them. Since they're going to be dried and they're not yet fully processed, then they can be eaten as a snack, even though they've been brought into the owner's courtyard. Hapoalim shimo, with the workers who are with him, who are helping him carry the figs to the place where they'll be dried out. Bisman she'ein lehem ala mizonos, when they do not have a right to get food from him as part of their wages, and he now allows them to take some figs as a gift. Ochlin upeturin, then they may eat the figs as a snack and are putter from being mafish Maaser before they eat them, because a gift does not set the Maaser obligation for produce the way a sale does. You get something as a gift, it doesn't have the same Maaser obligations as something that was sold. However, if they have a right to get food, meaning meals from him as part of their wages, then they may not eat the figs without first being mafish Maaser. Because since the figs are a payment to the workers, then they're considered to have been bought in exchange for their work, and that's considered a sale, and that is obligated in being mafish Maaser from. Mishnah Beis, Hamotzi Pawala L'Sadeh, if someone takes his workers out to work in the field on his fig trees, and they want to snack on the figs, Bisman she'ein lahem ala mizonos ochlin upeturin, when they do not have the right to get food from the owner as part of the wages, but he allows them to take them as a gift, then they may eat the figs as a snack and are putter from being mafish Maaser, as we discussed before. But if they do have, if they do collect food as part of the wages, and therefore it's considered income, as considered bought, then ochlin achas min. In that case, they may pick and eat one fig at a time from the tree, because selling produce does not set its Maaser obligation unless it has been processed, and one fruit by itself is not considered to be processed. So if you're taking one fig off the tree at a time and eating it one by one, then that's not a shiur in Maaser. Ava lo min hasal, lo min hakupa, lo min hamuksa. But they may not eat even one fig at a time from a basket of figs, or from a box, or from a pile of figs. Because once the figs have been combined, they are considered processed enough for the sale to prohibit eating them even as a snack. Mishnah Gimel, Hasocher es hapoel lasos bezesim. if someone hires a worker to work with olive trees. And when the worker agreed to do the job, he said to the owner, I will do so on condition that I may eat some olives. Ochel echad, echad pater. So if he eats one olive at a time, he is pater from Maaseros. But if he combined two or more olives before eating them, he is chayiv to be mafresh meiser. Yes, before he may eat them, as we explained in the previous Mishnah. The nakish of if someone hired a worker to weed a patch of onions, Amalo almanas lechel yorek, and the worker said to the owner, I will do this on condition that I may eat the green leaves of the olive plants. Mekartem ala ochel. So the worker may pull off one leaf at a time and eat it without separating meiser. But if he combined two or more leaves before eating them, he is chayiv to separate meiser before eating them. Matzah katzizas b'derech, Mishnah Daled. Matzah katzizas b'derech afilu b'tzitzos sadei katzitzos. If someone found cut figs on the road, which is a sign that they had been laid out to dry, even if he found them next to a field of cut figs that had been laid out to dry, so that it seems clear that they belong to the owner of the field. And similarly, if there's a fig tree with branches that are hanging over a road, and someone found the figs beneath it, so that seems clear that they fell from the tree, mutaros mishum gezel. They are permitted with regard to the issue of stealing, meaning that someone who finds that many, someone that finds those figs may take them without it being considered stealing. The Baturas ben Maaseros, and they are pater from taking meiser, because the finder, they only mean that the finder can eat them without being mafresh meiser. The reason for both these rulings is that if they're lying on the road, then they're hefker, and if it's hefker, then you're pater from meiser anyways, as you learned back in the beginning of the Masechta. However, if olives or carobs are found on the road beneath an olive or carob tree, they are not considered hefker and are chayiv in meiser. Here in this case, the owner of the tree does not give up hope of getting his fruits back, and because they can be identified as having come from his tree even after falling into the road. Therefore, someone who finds them must return them to the owner, who is then obligated to separate meiser from them. Matzah grogros, if someone found dried figs, and it's not clear if the processing has been completed. Most people in the city have already squashed their dried figs into barrels. Then the finder must assume that the ones he found had also been squashed before they were lost, and is obligated to separate meiser from them. But most people in the city have not yet squashed their dried figs into barrels, and so he may assume that the ones he found had not yet been squashed, and he is not chayav to separate meiser from them. He's pater. Matzah pilche devela. He found pieces cut from a cake of figs. Chayav, he is chayav to take meiser from them. Sheyadua shehin midavar gomer, because it is known that they are from something whose processing was completed before they were lost. V'acharuvin ad shelo kantel rosh hagag. But regarding carob, before a person has gathered them into a pile on top of the roof, which marks the end of their processing, Morid mehem the behemoth pater. He may take some down from the roof for his animal to eat, and he is not obligated to separate Maaser from them. That's a Muslim, because he will return the leftover carrots to the roof. And therefore it's okay. Mishnah Hey, which is the type of a courtyard that is subject to the chiyuv of Maaser, meaning that which makes the produce that that is fully subject to Maaser and forbidden to snack on. Rabbi Shmuel says, Chatzer Hatzuris She'akilim Nishpurim Besocha, a Tyrian courtyard in which the utensils are protected by the person who stands guard over the courtyard, like the courtyard of the city of Tyre. What was so special? Many of the residents of Tyre, which is a Lebanese village, were rich, and it was therefore common for them to hire watchmen to guard their courtyards. Rabbi Kiva says, Kosh Echad Posef Echad Noel Petura. Any courtyard where when one person living in it opens the door, another person living in it comes in and closes it, is not subject to the Maaser obligation, because the courtyard in which two people own homes and both have the right to decide when to keep the courtyard door open and when to keep it closed, it is not protected enough to set the Maaser obligation. Nehemiah says, any courtyard in which a person is not embarrassed to eat is subject to Maaser. According to him, the courtyard must provide enough privacy to allow a person to eat in it comfortably before it can establish a Maaser obligation. Rabbi Yossi says, Kol shenichnas la ve'ein omer lo ma'atam vakish v'tura. Any courtyard that a stranger enters without being told, what are you looking for, is not chayiv in Maaser, because it's not private enough. Yehuda says, if there are two courtyards, one inside the other, so people living in the inner courtyard must walk through the outer court one to get to the street. Hapanemius, Hayavis, Vachisona Petura. The inner courtyard is subject to Maaser, and the outer one is not. The inner courtyard is considered protected because it can prevent the people from the outer one from entering it, but the outer one is not considered protected because it cannot prevent the people from the inner one going through it to get to and from the street. This reminds me a little bit of other Mishnayos from Eruvin, which we'll get to when we get to Moed, where you talk about the Rishus Yochid, about the Carmelists, and the Mavoi. We have multiple courtyards to open up to an alleyway, which then open up to the outside street. So, I'm not, it's interesting here because it sounds like what he's talking about here is the outer courtyard. In this case, be similar to a Mavoi where people are going back and forth, but the personal courtyard of a person is different. I'm just speculating over here. I'm not really sure why. It could be different, but that's my speculation. Mishnah Vav, Hagagos Peturin, the rooftops are not subject to the Maaser obligation. They mean that they do not set the Maaser obligation for produce that is brought up to them. Even if they are on top of houses in the courtyard that is subject to the obligation, and he brought the produce through the courtyard to the rooftop. Beishar Aksadra, I'm going to pass it. A gatehouse, and a portico, and a gallery. they are like the courtyard that they're next to. If the courtyard is the type that is subject to to Meiser, then these structures are also Chayv Meiser. The Impetura Peturim. And if the courtyard is not subject to Meiser, then they're also not Chayv Meiser. Mr. Zayin, Hatzrifin Beha Beha Kotios, Peturim. Hunters' huts, field sheds, and summer huts are not Chayiv Emaisa. They do not set the Maisa obligation for produce that is brought into them. These structures are not like regular they're not like regular houses because they're not made to live them permanently. Sukkahs, Genisar, a Genisar hut, that the farmers use in the Kenosha region. They stay in there in the season. Even if it has a mill and chickens in it, it is not subject to Ma'aser because it is not a permanent dwelling. Sukkahs, Hayotzrim, a potter's hut, a two-room hut in which a potter would live, work, and sell his products. Hapanemius, Chayeves, Bechisona Petura. Then the inner room, which is his residence, is Chayev, because it functions as a home. But the outer room, which is his workshop and his store, is not Chayev Emaiser because it is not a residence. Rabbi Yossi says, Kol she'ena diras nachama v'diras hakashamim petura. Any structure that is not fit to be used as both a summer and a winter home is not chayiv, and a potter's inner room is not fit to be used as a home in the wintertime. Therefore, even according to him, that the food in the inner room is maybe eaten as a snack, according to Rabbi Yossi. Sukkahs and Chag v'Chag, a sukkah that's used for the Chag of Sukkahs is a machokas. So Yehuda Mechayr Chachamim Peturim. Rabbi Yehuda considers it subject to the obligation of a Meiser, whereas the Chachamim are not Mechayev it. Right. Mishnah Ches. Te'ena shehi omedes bechatzer. If a fig tree stands in a courtyard, ochel achas upater, the owner may pick and eat one fig at a time, and he is not obligated to meiser from it. But if he combines two or more figs, he is chayiv to separate meiser before eating them, because two figs are considered processed, and the courtyard sets the meiser obligation. Rabbi Shimon says, achas b'yaminu, achas b'shmalav, achas b'piv. Even if he takes one fig in his right hand, another one in his left hand, and the third one in his mouth, he is not obligated to mafresh meiser from them because they are not considered combined in this way. Although the rosha, the mela, chikav ochel, the male, if he climbed to the top of the tree, he may fill his lap with figs and eat them there, because the top of the tree is not considered to be within the courtyard. Therefore, he can eat as many as he wants, not have a problem. Two more Mishnahs to go. Mishnah Tes, Gefen, Shehi Natua B'chatzer. If a grapevine is planted in the courtyard, notel as kol ha'eshkol, you may take a whole cluster of grapes from the vine and eat it without being mafish meiser. Because you view the entire cluster as one unit and not a combination of many individual grapes. The same is true for a pomegranate and a melon that both grow in a courtyard. Even though a pomegranate has many seeds and a melon has many pieces, they're considered as one whole melon and one whole pomegranate, and regarding being mafish meiser. Rabbi Tarfon Omer, this is according to Tarfon. Rabbi Kiva Omer, Rabbi Kiva says, "Megarger be'eshkolos u'pori b'rimam b'sofes b'avatiach." If he wishes to eat from these fruits without separating meiser, he must pick one grape at a time from the cluster, and while it's still attached to the vine, pick out one seed at a time from the pomegranate while it's still attached to the tree, and cut off one thin slice at a time from the melon while still attached to the ground. That would be pater, otherwise it would be chayiv. Kuspar, she's a ruah bechatzer. Coriander is planted in a courtyard. Mekartim Allah olive ochel. You may cut off one leaf at a time and eat it without separating meiser. But if you combine two or more leaves, he is obligated to separate meisers before he eats, before he snacks in them. Hasiya ve'ezav ve'karnis shebechatzer. If savory, hyssop, and oregano are growing in a courtyard, im hayer nishmarim chayavin. If they are being protected by the owner, meaning that he's careful that they not be taken by anyone else, they are chayiv in meiser. And finally, Mishnah Yud, Te'ena shehi omedes b'chatzer v'notel degina. If a fig tree stands inside a courtyard and one of its branches leans over into a garden outside the courtyard, ochel kedar kupat, he may stand in the garden and eat the figs growing over in its usual manner. And he is not chayiv to be mafish meiser before eating them as a snack. Since these figs do not enter the courtyard, they do not become chayiv to meiser when he picked them. Omedes begina v'nota lechatzer. If the tree stands in the garden and leans over into the courtyard, ochel achas pater. He may pick those figs and eat them one at a time without being chayiv to mafish meiser from them. Being seirach chayiv, but if he combined two or more figs, he's obligated to separate meiser before eating them as a snack. Since these figs are all in the courtyard, they become chayiv in meiser as soon as they are picked and combined. And finally, omedes ba'aretz v'nota l'chutz la'aretz. If a tree stands in Eretz Yisrael and one of its branches leans or extends outside Eretz Yisrael, because he's on the border. The chutz la'aretz v'nota la'aretz, or if it stands outside the land and one of its branches leans inside the land, hakol holich achar ha'ikar. Then everything goes according to the tree's trunk. If the tree's trunk is in Eretz Yisrael, then all of its fruit is considered that grown in Eretz Yisrael. And if the tree's trunk is outside the land, then all the fruit is considered that grown outside. Since the tree's nourishment comes from the trunk, which comes from the roots, therefore it goes where the trunk is. Ubati arichoma akoholich acher ha'ikar. And with regard to the houses in walled cities, everything goes by the location of the tree's trunk. If the tree's trunk is in the city limits, then it's considered to be within the walled city, and if not, then it's not. But regarding Ari Miklat, the city is a refuge, everything goes by the location of the branches as well. So if either the tree's trunk or the branches are the 2,000 amos of the Irmiklat, and the entire tree is considered as if it's within the Irmiklat, and then it's usher for the victim's relatives to attack the killer if he is under any part of that tree that's partially within the 2,000 amos of the Irmiklat. Yerushalayim, Akol Holich Acher Hanof. And with regard to Yerushalayim and to Mashasheni, everything goes by the location of the branches as well. If part of the tree is inside the city, if part of it is outside, we treat the entire tree as according to the stricter position. Mashasheni may not be eaten at either part of the tree, either inside or as if it is all outside of the city, nor may it be redeemed at either part as if it's all inside the city. It makes no difference which part of the tree was inside the city, which part was outside. Okay. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow morning for Perek Dalet. Have a wonderful day.